For many people wanting to purchase a new all-electric vehicle, Toyota's perseverance and intelligent modifications have made the Prius, particularly the Prius Prime, the perfect choice. Answer: in this episode we will share everything we know about this ultimate hybrid, the 2023 Toyota Prius Prime plug-in hybrid. The Toyota Prius has not significantly changed architecturally from what it was 25 years ago. But because of Toyota's perseverance and smart adjustments, the new Prius, particularly the Prius Prime, has become the ideal vehicle for many, including a lot of people considering the purchase of a new all-electric vehicle. Many individuals who never believed they would consider a Prius may begin to take notice of this vehicle due to the boost in horsepower and range, as well as the significantly improved handling and aesthetics. One of the most obvious distinctions between the 5th generation Prius and earlier versions is its design, although the Prius Prime's performance figures point to significant internal innovation. The 4th generation Prime had a pitiful 119 horsepower and a meager 25 miles of EV range. The new Prime has a combined 220 horsepower and can travel 44 miles on electric power alone, 39 miles on higher trims. However, the modifications were not substantial, and the basic structure has not changed. There is still a 4-cylinder, Atkinson cycle internal combustion engine in the transmission, along with 2 motor generators and a lithium-ion battery pack. Since the introduction of the original Prius in 1997, this has actually been quite comparable. For the 5th generation of the automobile, the nickel metal hydride battery that had been present in select models has been eliminated. It took them a while to finish the switch to lithium-ion, which may be the biggest development in 25 years. Your Forerunner will still be in operation when the sun goes supernova because Toyota is conservative with its changes. The horsepower and EV range numbers varied substantially, despite the identical design. A lithium-ion battery pack with an 8.8 kWh capacity provides 25 miles of electric range in the outgoing plug-in Prius Prime. The updated model includes a 13.6 kWh lithium-ion battery, which provides a range of 44 miles. The all-electric range is increased by 76% thanks to the pack's 54% increase in energy. As a result, the Prius Prime EV has a range that is greater than the 41 miles that the typical American travels each day, making it a fully electric vehicle for the majority of Americans. The car weighs roughly 100 pounds more than the non-plug-in variant and about 200 pounds more than the previous Prius Prime due to the larger battery. You can choose to install an 185-watt solar roof if you choose the top trim Prime. While driving, it provides power to the 12-volt system and charges the traction battery when the vehicle is stationary. However, based on typical solar panel outputs, you're only going to get a couple of miles of range per day. It will be interesting to see real-world tests. Only if you intend to park outside all day will the increased range and cooler cabin be worthwhile. Only 3.5 kW, a modest increase from the prior 3.3 kW, is available via the onboard charger. Although the majority of electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles have 6.6 kW or more, 3.5 kW should be sufficient for a 4-hour charge on 240 volts. The battery pack has a nominal voltage of 266 volts, which is around 100 volts less than the previous plug-in Prius. The majority of traction batteries are moving against the current. Without tearing down the system, it's difficult to assess whether the lower voltage will save money on the charging and power conversion equipment. Lower voltage typically results in more copper and less effective power transmission, although these systems and their trade-offs are complex. Located behind the seats, the battery is larger but also lower. With a lower center of gravity as a result, the cargo area is more effective. The shift is apparent, even though few people were calling for a lower CG on their Prius. The new Prius Prime feels like it may be enjoyable to drive on a winding road, in contrast to the original Prius Prime, which would screech the tires with the slightest turning forces. The electric motor, which was the second significant upgrade, contributes to this sportier sensation. It now has a standalone 161 horsepower capacity. This vehicle is manageable to operate in EV mode without making you panic every time you have to merge onto a freeway. 150 horsepower is the maximum rating of the internal combustion engine. Sadly, they do not combine to produce a 311 horsepower Prius. The greatest combined power is only 220 horsepower, with the motor and engine each reaching their peak at different times. The two motors of the car are designated MG1 and MG2, with MG denotes for motor generator. One of the motors, according to the engineers, was utilized for power generation and the other for regeneration. But the larger one's functions are listed on the datasheet as drives, front wheels, regeneration during braking. But experts estimate that both are performing a small amount of production and a small amount of power output at various times, both of which are managed by an algorithm that strives for maximum efficiency. We might be just one algorithm update away from a Prius with 300 or so horsepower and a GR performance badge on the rear. That would definitely help the brand's standing, right? Rear electric motor options for the standard, non-Prime Prius are available, enabling all-wheel drive. When questioned about why it wasn't offered through Prime, the answer given was related to packaging. Given that the battery on the Prime is substantially larger and housed beneath the back seat, this seems plausible. According to Toyota, the new Prius has a 0.27 drag coefficient compared to 0.25 for the older model, an increase of 8%. But looking at the new car from the front, it is clearly smaller. There is a noticeable 10% reduction in size with the new Prime. It seems as though the overall aerodynamic drag may be a little less given that total aerodynamic drag is a function of the frontal area and drag coefficient. Taller persons and taller torsos may not feel as comfortable in the new automobile, which appears like it would be crammed in the backseat. Small improvements were made to the inner technology. The screen that used to be in the dash's middle, between the driver and passenger, has been shifted to the driver's front. With icons, warnings, and efficiency rankings, it looks like it is overly complicated, however overall it is very similar to the previous concept. Because of the landscape orientation change and improved contrast and glare reduction, the center screen is now much gentler on the eyes. The lock-unlock sound outside the car is different and exclusive to the Prius, which is one noticeable modification that sounds insignificant but is actually sort of wonderful. Thus you get something else than the beep beep you get in every parking lot from every Toyota built over the past few decades. Some people criticized the new Prius for not being entirely electric, but Toyota's strategy with the Prime makes sense in a world with limited resources. Automakers like Ford and Stellantis have come to the conclusion that there aren't enough battery resources available to make the world all electric in the foreseeable future. Production of materials used in batteries, such lithium and cobalt, is constrained. Toyota claims that it makes more sense to construct 8 13 kWh plug-in hybrids than it does to construct a 100 kWh fully electric vehicle given the limited resources available. Beyond its estimated fuel economy of 52 mpg and the added convenience of having a charging option other than the frustratingly unreliable EV charging network, the hybrid mode Prime boasts a range of 44 miles in EV mode. With that being said, what do you think of the all-new 2023 Toyota Prius Prime? Let us know your thoughts in the comment box below. And if you've watched up to this point, thank you so much. For more videos about EVs, Toyota, Tesla, Ford, and the most recent auto news, please consider subscribing to Tech Addicts.